When we go in to hunt this spot, we get to about here and we beeline it right for this ridge. It's over my right shoulder. There's kind of a little hog back or a hump there, and that little small secondary ridge takes us all the way down into this little valley. And there's a redneck blind down in there, and in some years there have been some really good deer that I've hunted and you know, that I could not hunt down in there before we put that redneck blind in. Well, since we put it in, we haven't had any shooter bucks or bucks that we've really been after that have been living down in there, so I haven't hunted it all that much. And the few times that I have hunted it, like I said, it's been kind of a, I'd say it's been botched a lot of times. And the reason is because the deer know that we're coming and they know when we leave. So just going down that ridge and just popping out, overlooking those two little food plots, that doesn't work very good. So let's go down and look at that first, and then we'll backtrack and try to come up with a better solution for getting in and out of there. We usually do fine getting about this far. Coming across that open field's not bad, because we usually, you know, by the time you walk up there, I guess if there are deer out in that field, we've kind of bumped them out. But it starts to fall apart once we get to the edge of the timber here. And you'll see as we go out on this ridge, it's a little bit open on both sides. So the deer that are bedded over on that ridge and the deer that are bedded over on the ridge to the right, they can both see us as we're walking down through here. So I'll go down and show you that real quick, and then, okay. So one of the things that I try to do with the postseason scouting is really focus in on making these stands better. And like I said, there's no more important thing that you can do during this postseason than to come up with the best way to get to and from these stands without the deer knowing it. The blind is over to my left here, and these are those two little food plots. It sets up really nice. If there was a buck down in here that I was trying to hunt, I can't think of a better place to kill that deer than right here, assuming that we can hunt it without being detected. We've got a tube going across this ditch, and the blind sits about 15 yards from that crossing. And we built that in order to go, you know, be able to run equipment back and forth when we're working on these plots. But the deer have adopted that as this perfect funnel. When they travel down through this valley, they funnel right past in front of that blind. So it's a killer spot. It's just the access is really bad. Studying this spot, the obvious solution is to use this ditch. That's the best thing we got going for us here. I just don't know. I've got to walk this thing and see if it's deep enough, and you know, whether it's enough to actually conceal us when we come sneaking down there. If that works, you can see that blind is only 5 or 6 feet off the edge of that ditch. We could come down in here with deer in these plots, especially if we planted something there, or maybe did a hinge cut of a couple of trees maybe. We'd have to do something to create a screen where we could get out of the ditch and into the blind without these deer knowing it. And it's just as important at the end of the hunt too. You know, you might say that the buck that you're after is not out there. What difference does it make? But anytime you educate the non-target deer, you reduce the comfort that they have with this area, and all the deer in general will stop moving as naturally. That means you get less daylight activity. If the does start acting squirrely, then the bucks are going to pick up on their body language, and they're going to start to get a little bit cautious down in this area too. So you don't want to spook any deer. You know, it's not just the target buck that you have to be careful of, it's every single deer. Every deer that knows that you're hunting that area is potentially one that can communicate that to the other deer, and then eventually the spot starts to go cold. So I'm going to look at this ditch, but that might be our solution here. Obviously I knew the ditch was there. You know, it's just kind of wait for that breeze. Obviously I knew that ditch was there. I was just kind of playing along for the sake of the lesson here, but I do not know if it's going to be possible to walk that thing and stay concealed, and whether we can get out of the ditch and into the blind. So let's go take a look. I can see already that I like this ditch from the standpoint of being able to stay hidden. I mean, it's probably 4 feet deep, real straight edge. We're only 10 feet from the ladder So we would have to create some kind of a barrier here, a visual barrier, some kind of screen. We'll have to figure that part of it out. But the ditch is definitely the way to go. The only problem is, if you look at it, it's just going to be a chainsawing nightmare coming down through there. I mean, I could see hiring interns just to saw this ditch out. I mean, it could be that bad. But maybe Zach can do it. He's pretty young. You know, he's got the ignorance is bliss mentality. He doesn't know how bad it can be, so he'll dive right in there. It's going to be a lot of work. That's the point I'm making. I mean, you can already see right here, I see 15, 20 minutes of work, and we're only looking at the first 20 yards of probably a 250 yard long ditch. But let's walk this out. Like I said, I really like this now as I look at it. I think you can stay low enough in that ditch, hunched over, where any deer bedding on this ridge, they aren't going to see you. And then, you know, obviously there's not a whole lot going on here, but we're more concerned about further across on the next ridge over, and then the plots themselves. Some kind of a visual screen is going to be critical here. I have to think about that a little bit. But the ditch shows a lot of promise, but it is going to create a lot of work. We've almost made it now to the top of the ditch, and no question about it, the ditch is the way to go here. It's probably not as foolproof as what I'd hoped. I think the deer on this side would still be able to see us when we're sneaking down through there. The ditch isn't so deep that they wouldn't be able to see us. But the nice thing is, the deer on the next ridge over that would normally see us when we walk right down the top of this one, they wouldn't be able to see us. So we would cut half of the country that before we might have been blowing deer out of. You know, we would slice that part out of the equation. And I think staying low definitely makes it beneficial even on this side, because if something's bedded just over the top of the rise, you know, we're up on that ridge, they'd probably be able to see us, but down in the ditch, I think we could get right past them. But the main thing is eliminating any deer on that ridge from knowing, and being able to get in there without the deer that would be already out in those food plots, to keep them from knowing that we're coming. And the ditch is definitely the solution to that.